Welcome to the Simply Smart Business Podcast. I'm your host, Nicki Ong, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Lauren Kim. Lauren is a passionate marketing director, creative strategist, and team culture enthusiast who leads with both heart and hustle. She heads marketing at Team Orthodontics, an Arizona-based orthodontic practice known for delivering unforgettable experiences and beautiful smile transformations. We are going to be talking about so many cool things with Lauren today, including her passion about systems and giving back to the community, as well as team development. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how she connects with her customers to actually get feedback to get better at her job, and how everybody at the company can get better as well. That's really important, as we know. And we'll even get a little tidbit on Lauren's new venture here at the end. So welcome, Lauren. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki, so much for having me. I'm excited to be on with you.
Absolutely. So I always like to start with a little story time because I think that it's really easy to look at where you are now and your success and how far you've come, but it's important to know the journey that got you there. So tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question because it was a long journey to get where I am today. So I started back in the orthodontic industry 11 years ago, working for a local practice back in Albuquerque, New Mexico. With that, my family had moved to Arizona, so I followed and I hadn't finished school yet. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And so I moved to Arizona, kind of looking for new opportunities and just to be joined with my family. And in that, I again landed another job at Team Orthodontics and started as an administrative coordinator and quickly fell in love with the culture there and kind of the brand and what the brand represents. And so I went all in with just being super diligent in tasks and finding every opportunity that I could in to just grow the practice and be a part of the practice. And with that, I learned all the different facets of the orthodontic practice from clinical, TC team. And I think that diligence and that hard work and finding a brand that I was really passionate about is kind of what fast forward today has got me to where I am today, leading the marketing ventures, rebranding the company and taking it to the next level. So it's just been a lot of diligence and a lot of leaving no stone unturned and figuring out what are the different things within the practice and within the orthodontic world that makes a customer purchase. And so I think just finding a brand that you love to work with plays a huge role in driving success and driving your career into a place that you're passionate about.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's so hard to find, I feel like. Speak with a lot of female leaders and female marketers, female entrepreneurs, and it feels like I love that women are really good at either finding a culture fit or walking away from it when it's not a fit. It's something that keeps coming up over and over. So I love that you found something that's aligned with you and your values and just something you fell in love with.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head because it's finding that culture fit and also being okay with walking away from the company when it's not a culture fit. Because I had taken a step away to start my family and worked in a corporate world where, the schedule and everything worked for my family, especially starting off with, becoming a first-time mom and stuff, but it wasn't a culture fit. And so there was a point where I had to be okay and muster up that confidence to step away, to really choose and find companies that align with my values and what I want for my family.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm also a mom and I'm super passionate about mompreneurs and mom leaders because as mothers, it really makes you that much better of a leader, I think. And unfortunately, in the US, we don't see that a lot as being aligned with a lot of companies. So I love that you found one that's really aligned with your values and that you're able to have all the things and do all the things. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been awesome to be able to, especially to find a doctor that pours into his team and he really wants to, if I want to learn more in marketing or learn more about email marketing, he's willing to invest in his employees. And so finding those leaders that they see your value and they see that all that you can become and they want to invest in that, that's just so important. And that's been a huge piece too, is just a doctor who really values his employees.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And with that, I know that you're passionate yourself about team development. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I back in 2018 was when I got offered my first leadership position. And so stepping, I think I was 25, 26 at the time. And so stepping into leadership was a little intimidating for me at that time, especially because I was going to be a lot younger than the women I was overseeing. And so a big portion of stepping into that position was figuring out how do I step into this position humbly and in a way where I can really get the buy-in from the team. And so my dad, who is been such a huge role in my life, and he's a phenomenal leader at multiple tech companies. But I connected with him and got some information. And the one thing that he piece of advice that he gave me that I've stuck with and I've latched on to that was setting up one-on-ones. And so stepping into leadership and bringing something that was kind of foreign to an orthodontic practice. You don't really hear that too often.
Yeah.
The office manager or the doctor having one-on-ones with their team. That was a kind of system, I guess, that I implemented that really helped with team development. And the one-on-ones weren't necessarily centered around performance or hitting your goals. It was really just what do you need from me as your leader, and you're seen in this company. You're not just a cog in the
Mm.
mission. And so I think that has really helped with establishing team culture and building teams time and time again. And I've worked with and trained multiple teams now. And that's the one thing is when you can really find time and set aside time from the day-to-day tasks that need to get done and connect with your team and establish authentic relationships with your team members, the culture just builds itself. And then the team just, they push and drive the business.
That's amazing. I know, especially for medical or healthcare fields, it's unheard of, right? I mean, people are just expected to come in, do your job, leave at the end of the day or after a really long shift, probably, and just stick with the status quo. So I love that you're doing that and that you're listening and hearing people. And a lot of times people just want to be heard, right? I mean, they just want to have a voice and have somebody listen.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's they're stepping into the corporate world and then coming back to a small practice. There's a lot of notes that I was able to take and things that I was able to learn from corporate structure and just kind of the executive roles and how they operate and bring that into a small practice that has really gone a long way to drive the success of Team Orthodontics.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I know you're also passionate about systems and you guys have a Giving Back to the Community initiative. Can you talk about those things as well?
Yeah, one of the most exciting initiatives that we just recently launched is called our Smile Scholarship. And so we got connected with a local real estate agent, and she is also passionate about giving back to the community. And so we've established a partnership to find kiddos throughout the East Valley that can't afford orthodontic treatment, and
Mhm.
we're actually partnering together to provide this program where they can apply, and then we'll pick the best candidates to provide free orthodontic treatment for them. And so it's
Amazing.
just a way to serve our community, and we realize that it's not, having a healthy straight bite isn't something that just people with finances should have. It should be accessible to all demographics. And so we're really looking for those opportunities. That's our most recent venture that we're trying to get off the ground and running.
Yeah, that's incredible, especially for something that's so niche that isn't necessarily covered by insurance, or sometimes it is. Within orthodontic, sometimes it is.
It depends.
Because it's not a need to have in most cases, it's a nice to have. And so for those sort of types of services or products, it's probably really tricky to find that sweet spot. But I love that you have that giving back initiative because that's huge. Because you're right. I mean, a smile is just, it's so many things. It's confidence, um, it's being willing to show up as your true self rather than always having this thing that you're hiding, not wanting to open your mouth or anything like that. So that's amazing you're able to give that to those kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important because, yeah, the insurances, they see that orthodontia might not be necessary, but from a medical aspect, it is because there's so many health issues that you can avoid later on by orthodontic treatment. And so that's one thing that we're really trying to drive is just the education around orthodontics. And it can help with prevent gum disease and heart issues, even, TMJ issues. And so we're really trying to educate our community and provide that service.
That's amazing. I didn't realize, and especially because it's more than just straight teeth. And so I do know so many things start with the mouth as far as your health goes, and so many things can be prevented that unfortunately are not all the time. So I love that you guys have that educational aspect as well. Tell me a little bit what you guys are doing on the education forefront to try to get the message out.
Yeah, so a lot of it is that's kind of a piece that we're really trying to figure out, especially being in such a noisy market and trying to get
Mm.
in with the schools. So what we're trying to do, we've been partnered with the schools for 24 years now since his practice is opened
Wow.
up with the school shuttle service that we offer. But what I'm trying to do is really get into the schools and provide, during healthcare fairs or dental healthcare month is get in there to teach and have little seminars, make it fun for the kiddos, but also educate them and send them home with information that educates the parents around it. And
Yeah.
so we're super excited because we've partnered with a couple of the schools. Quite recently, for the upcoming school year, we'll be providing educational information and just partnering with them to provide that education for their students and their families.
Amazing. And I think that's a good note that, and this can, I think, go from industry to industry that, you don't always have to be selling, that it can be that educational process, that community building. Those are all really important aspects of building a business that's successful. And what I think is really interesting about your industry is that you're serving a certain demographic, but your audience is actually the parents, right? They're the ones footing the bill. So it's probably a really tricky process as far as you want to educate the kids, but ultimately you have to educate the parents too.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to, like, what I've realized is that, like you said, you don't always have to sell. And that education aspect is one thing that we really lean into. Because even if a client comes in for a consultation, we educate them on the reasons why they need orthodontia and they choose not to go with us. Ultimately, we're okay with that. We can rest at night knowing that we've educated them on exactly why, what they need to be asking if they're going to another orthodontic office, the questions they need to ask, the services they need to get the results and the long-term health benefits that they need. And so the education piece, I think, goes a long way to build trust, whether they choose to move forward with us or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's true for any industry too, right? Is, giving a little, actually you get back a lot from that. I know in some industries people are very, very cautious. They want to hold their industry secrets to their chest and don't want to share anything. But the reality is if they're not learning it from you, they could easily learn it online or from another office. And so if you can be that one that just says, hey, these are the reasons, this is why, no pressure. You can go somewhere else, but we'd love to help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. So on that note, this has been a theme that I've been talking with a lot of people on the show about is that I think with especially online marketing, we tend to lose I don't know if it's the ability or maybe it's just the need necessarily to talk to our customers as much as we once did and get that feedback and hear really about what's going well and what's not going well. And you said you're really passionate about actually connecting with those customers and that not a lot of other businesses do that. Can you speak on that a little bit and what you guys are doing differently there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have kind of not a traditional marketing background. So I have more of a product marketing background. So really working with sales
Yeah.
and bringing sales and marketing together. And a big piece of that is that touching with the customers and going direct to consumer to figure out what they need and bring the services that they're asking for.
Mhm.
And so in our practice, one of the things that I've done that works really well is just face-to-face interviews, calling and setting up. I've previously had where I would have a patient come in, pull them aside, ask them a few questions, and collect feedback. I'll hop on calls with new patients that have chosen to start treatment with us, and patients that just got their braces off. All throughout the customer journey, I'll try to connect with patients just to figure out why did you choose Team Orthodontics? Why didn't you choose Team Orthodontics? What are the services that you're looking for when you come to our office? And are there any services that we don't offer that our clientele really wants? And how can we make that happen for them? And so it's really just setting up a system to reach out. I have quarterly calendars set up for myself and just to do those reach outs. Recently, we worked with a consultant, and part of that piece was also doing digital surveying. And so sending out surveys and having that feedback as well.
Brilliant. And I think for a lot of business owners or marketers, even those calls, while they may seem obvious that they should be done, kind of make us uncomfortable in a way to, oh my gosh, gasp, go talk to somebody that didn't want our services. But you probably get such great information from it that it's well worth it.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think it's worth it. And it goes a long way for them too, because I think more often than not, we forget that consumers have a voice and they want to be heard. And
Yeah.
so valuing what they have to say, even if it's negative feedback, speaks to the culture that we have in our practice. And so I think that's what really sets us apart.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's amazing. And I know that you love, love, love Team Orthodontics, but that you've recently decided to start your own thing. And so, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've got going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I bleed Team Orthodontics, something I always say. But I think during my time at OrthoFX, which is a larger clear aligner company, I got to kind of do some marketing consulting for the providers of that clear aligner product. And so I was able to really see the need across the country that private practices have to figure out and streamline their marketing systems and take their TC teams to the next level. And so I'm doing just that. I've building a program called Straight Up, which is a series of coaching kind of modules and the support that doctors need and their office managers or their marketing leaders need to really refine their marketing strategies and kind of replicate what I've done for Team Orthodontics. And so training on what core values you need to have for your company, and everything that you do stems from those and centered around those core values. And how do you speak to your customer, and really helping with mindset coaching? Because what I've found is a lot of doctors want to do it all, and they have to be the ones to approve every decision in the practice, and that leads to burnout. And so helping them and coaching them how to get out of that mindset and teaching how to delegate and establish accountability in the practice, which a lot of practices lack. And so I'm super excited to be working on this program.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think when we first started chatting, we talked about this, but I've always found it fascinating that dentists and some types of doctors, they graduate medical school, and then not only are they a doctor, but then they're also a business owner. And that's something they may or may not have gone to school for, may or may not have a passion for, an interest in. And I've just always thought that so interesting that they automatically have to wear all those hats. And so this I can see is just going to be a game changer for anybody looking for something just like this. So that's incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah, I think Dr. Daniluk has done really well with establishing a leadership team. And so there's been so much that I've learned and so much I've been able to help implement. And so, I have friends that are doctors, and they're going through that struggle of, I just graduated and now I have to run a business and do all the marketing. And so this program's really for those doctors that don't want to be overwhelmed. They don't know how to run a business. It's just equipping them with everything they need. And so
Yeah.
very excited to get this off the ground.
Yeah, amazing. And like we said, you still are staying with Team Orthodontics all the way, but I think it's interesting because I talk with a lot of marketers who are multi-passionate and still feel that pull to maybe do something outside of their organization. So do you have any tips or tricks as far as, being able to do both and not keep the peace, but basically let the company know that things are going to be okay, you're sticking with them, and that you are also doing this side project or program or what have you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question because I'm still figuring out some of that piece, but a big part of it is really what I found works phenomenal for me is time blocking. I'm very systematic and very focused. And so, I have my time for Team Orthodontics, my 9 to 5 essentially, but my hours are flexed a little different. And so after hours, I'm working on my passion. I have kids, I have two toddlers, and they're a handful. And so I have my family time where I'm pouring into them and my husband, and I have a really good support system with him as well. So, once
Amazing.
the kids are down, I'm time blocking and I'm focusing on straight up and I'm focusing on what needs to get done and setting the goals. And so I set weekly goals and daily tasks that help me accomplish team orthodontic stuff and help me accomplish my straight up program. And so time blocking is key, I think, but also having that conversation at the right time with your current company is important of kind of gauging when's the time to say, hey, this is a venture that I'm going on. I'm still loyal to the company. Nothing's changing here. I'm going to show up. I'm not going to change how I show up. I'm going to be hitting all
Mhm.
of my goals, but I also have this passion that I'm allowed to do. And it's really reframing your mind as well of
Mhm.
realizing that you are allowed to do something on your own time. You're allowed to have multiple passions and hobbies.
1,000%. Just like I love the fact that you are prioritizing what matters, right? You know that family time is family time, work, team orthodontics time is that time, and then you have that time to yourself where you can pursue your passions and these other projects. And I think that's just incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important because whether it's starting your own business or it's fitness, you
Yeah.
need to have that time for yourself. And so the only way to have that time, especially as a mom, with kiddos and sports and all that comes with being a mom, it's really important to kind of learn time management and set aside time for yourself to pursue whatever that passion and hobby is.
100%. Motherhood has taught me efficiency
Yep.
better than anything else that I've ever done. It's amazing. Before having my son, I was working like 50 to 60 hours a week, and I don't even know what I got accomplished in that time, quite honestly. It's amazing.
Yes, it is likewise.
So, this has been so incredibly insightful, Lauren. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your wisdom with us. What is the best way for listeners to connect with you?
Yeah, so the best way right now will be just on my LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, you'll have access to my email, my direct email, and then I'm working on a website. So once that's live, my website
Okay.
will be linked on my on LinkedIn as well.
Wonderful. And I'll include Lauren's LinkedIn link in the show notes for you as well. And do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
I think that's a really good question. Probably just wherever you're at in your career, the best thing that you can do is diligence and consistency. There's not a magic program or a magic course that's going to get you to where you want. And so I think it's just being faithful to the work that you have and consistency and diligence in being faithful to that work will get you to where you want to go. Opens so many doors and opportunities that it has for me. And so just be consistent, be faithful, and know that doors will open at the right time for you.
Beautifully said. Love that. Well, Lauren, it's been such an absolute pleasure having you on the Simply Smart Business podcast. And thank you to our listeners as well for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe and get more inspiring conversations and actionable strategies to help you build a successful and fulfilling business. We will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.